and hopefully you're keeping yourself positive. And you must use this time to do the things that you really want to do. Use this time that you're at home to think about, to reevaluate things and create a new future for yourself. Use this time to see it as basically as a blackboard in front of you. Just write your new story. And if you can't write a story, what I suggest you do is make a vision board. Put a board in front of you and then put pictures up. The more visual you make it, the better you will manifest it. That'll is one thing that'll get you away from what I'm going to talk tonight about, and that is fear. With this COVID-19 going on globally, people have become very fearful. Fear of the future, fear that they might not have work tomorrow, fear for their families, fear for violence, fear for the economy collapse, fear of losing money. There's a lot of fear. So this is one thing we're going to talk tonight about, and I'm going to use a lot of readings from Lazarus, one of my favorites, and I can highly recommend that you go and you listen to his works. Very good, very insightful, but I'm going to use some of that work tonight, and hopefully by the end of this discussion you will have a better insight into your fears and you will understand them better. And then on Wednesday I will have a special meditation to help you overcome a specific fear. So in the meantime, so while we go through this today, afterwards I want you to go and think about a fear that you might have, that you want to get rid of, and I want you to bring it with on Wednesday with you in your mind, obviously, and then relax, find a space where you can relax, put on some nice loose clothing, comfortable, and then just enjoy the session and let's get rid of whatever fear it is that's bothering you. So I've got my cup of tea, and I love the slogan by a Blue Man Group. It says, "Dare to live in full color." And that's the way you ultimately want your life to be. You want your life to be colorful and happy. That's all what each one of us want. And the thing is, it is unbelievable how many people out there actually believe that they are here to suffer, and they must suffer first before they can be happy. And it's not true. Every person has the fullest right in this world to be happy. And unfortunately we were programmed from small, whether it's through education, parents, family, friends, colleagues, religions, whatever the case may be, we have become fearful of things, and we consider it and we think we do not have the right to be happy, but we do. And but that's a discussion for another time, which we will get to eventually. So for today, let's focus on fear. Now every person, I yet have to come across a person who doesn't have a fear of something, whether it be a fear of spiders, whether it be a fear of heights, or flying, whatever it is, everyone has a fear of something. Okay? But what you must understand is you have to think why. Let's go back and start at the beginning. Why are you here? I can tell you one thing why you're here, and that is that the world needs you. And that's why you're here listening to me. The world needs your leadership, and it needs your inspiration, especially now, and every single person is needed. So don't think for a moment that you're going to sit back and wake up tomorrow and just do nothing. You can't. You can't. Every person has to get up and do something. The world needs you, especially now, more than ever. So what's the first thing that you have to do? You have to deal with conquering your fear. Now, the problem is that people do not have the confidence. So what do? They use their fear to control, and they use that fear to control in a reality that they don't understand. So, and some people use that fear to control you. Look exactly what's happening now. I can give you an example of countries that's on curfews and lockdowns. And some of these governments are using it with the intention to control. So they're creating that fear to control. But I don't want to go into conspiracy theories now. It is important that we speak about controlling and conquering your fear. And it's important that you're not enslaved by that fear. So people, instead of conquering the fear, okay, they try and think that, they don't try and think, I mean, they think that they're powerless against it. And that fear paralyzes them. And it doesn't make an impact on their lives. And they perceive in this unfriendly world, in a world that they fear, that they're enslaved, and there's nothing that they can do. So rather than dealing and conquering with the fear and let the fear serve them, they allow themselves to be enslaved by the fear. Okay, so now today we'll discuss ways of getting on top of your fears and conquering it. Whether it's a fear of loneliness, financial difficulty, fear of punishment, loss, whatever it may be, we will discuss on how to overcome it. You can't destroy fear, because fear can serve you, but you can conquer your fear. And the thing is, too many people deny that they've got fear. They say to themselves, I don't have fear, I'm tough. Nothing can scare me, I'm fearless. But we will talk about how fear can serve you. And the reason for not destroying fear is that fear is an emotion. You can't destroy an emotion. And the reason why I say fear is an emotion is because fear's got a positive and a negative side to it. Love has got a good side and a bad side. Love can be hurtful and it can be frightening. But guilt, on the other hand, is not an emotion. Guilt is just got a negative side to it. There's no positive side to guilt. But fear can be positive. And that is the reason why it makes it a real emotion. Now, if you now think about it, you say, but how can fear be positive? Right? Let me give you an example. If you hear a sound at night, when you get awakened with that, what was that? Something wakes you up. That fear wakes you up. Your heart pounds, you start sweating, blood rains from your face. You get that cold feeling, shaking. Literally, it feels like your blood's turning cold. And that turns into fear. Whatever the discovery of fear is, whether it was a thief or an animal. So when you wake up in the middle of the night, it does not mean there's a physical threat causing the fear. You can have fear without facts. So the fear is a warning for you. It is a way to tell you that your life's in danger. You need to do something about it. So that makes fear a real emotion. And that's why it needs to be conquered and not destroyed. Now, for us to understand what an emotion is, we first got to look at what is the original emotion ever felt by humans. That emotion was love. So what is the fear associated with love? It is the fear of loss or the fear of loneliness. I know there's some people who preach out there who say that the biggest fear you can have, the ultimate fear, is the fear of failure. Look up on it, study it, and read through it. I'm not saying the theory is wrong, but I want you to judge for yourself. Now, losing connection, that is where all fears evolve from. It is not that fear does not originate from the fear of loneliness. It's the fear of loss, the separation from love. Fear is a symptom of faulty beliefs. The belief that I don't love well enough. First love and fear of loneliness. I don't love well enough. Fear is a symptom of faulty beliefs. The belief that I don't love enough. That's as simple as that. And it's out of that loneliness that fears develop. It is out of fear that blockages develop. And those blockages I'm talking about are blockages in the body itself. We've got emotion centers in the body, and energy flows from one certain direction to another, and opposite for male and female. And when those energies get blocked, it causes different emotional problems. Okay. So that fear blockages develop. So the source of all negativity is the fear of loneliness. Fear of loneliness can be positive and negative. So what is a positive and negative emotion? Any emotion which is expressed in a positive and any emotion which is expressed in a negative, is suppressed, is negative. So when you express an emotion, it's positive, and when you suppress it, it's negative. When it is suppressed, it becomes a negative emotion, and that goes for anger and doubt. So all emotions, when expressed positively, is a good thing. You don't hold it in, and it doesn't become a blockage. But so many people get themselves enslaved by fear rather than conquering and mastering it. Fear is a symptom of the fact that I cannot trust myself to deal with fear alone. To trust the inner part, this inner part, that knows what to do. And a lot of people say, if I don't think about the fear, maybe it will go away. So what started as a potential fear of loneliness became loneliness. And guess what? That fear doesn't go away. Now, if you go back to the beginning of time with the creation, and you look at Adam and Eve, and how they were kicked out of the garden. So what happened? They were rejected. They committed the original sin for which nobody will be forgiven. If you're good, you suffer. You will grovel like a snake. That is a perception that many have. Fear of God. They say you must fear God with everything that you have. And then maybe you'll be forgiven, maybe you won't. You know the story of Prometheus, who was chained to the rock. And every day a crow would come and open up the wound. And that gruesome image was conjured up out of loneliness. Beyond the mythology comes parenting. How many people out there were afraid that they were adopted? The biggest fear was somebody saying that you were adopted. They're not your real parents. They're going to get rid of you unless you behave, otherwise you will be lonely. When a child gets lost in a department store, what happens? They panic. They've got a fear that they were abandoned. But here's the unfortunate thing, and that is that parents use this fear. If you don't do this or you don't do that, I won't love you anymore. And if you don't do as I say, I won't talk to you. I'm sure all of you can relate or heard this somewhere, or somebody, or maybe your parents have told that to you. When your mother goes into one of her moods, many of you would do anything to get your mother's love and attention, to hear one word. And because of the fear of the pain of loneliness, that was worse. It was devastating. Then there's the growing up process in teenage years, the fear of humiliation. You're with your friends, and your mother calls you to go home early. You don't worry so much about the friends laughing at you, but you worry about the fact that they will reject you. Humiliation in teenage years is another word for loneliness. In adult stages, there's the fear of rejection, that no one will love me. And that is why a lot of people don't get divorced, is because they are afraid that after they're divorced, and especially if they've been married for 20, 30, 40 years, they're afraid that no one will love them anymore. And they're afraid that they will be alone. So how many couples have children? And the amount of children that couples have vary. And the reason for this is that so when they grow old, that they know that there will be somebody who will look after them. And I know that there's some cultural groups who have 5, 6, 7 children, so the children can look after the parents when they're older. And that fear, original fears, has become a way of life. And how many of you have been told by your parents that you must have children? So when everybody you know dies, there'll be somebody to look after you. It's because we all grow older and we move slower, and The children grow up. Nobody needs me, men and women. They all have the same fear. The fear of no one is here. Even in Christianity, Jesus wondered, Father, why have thou forsaken me? There are discussions that the time will come when the door of life closes. Those who made it will go through, and those who did not will become amoebas or whatever. Why people believe it's true, I don't know. It is a created fear that everybody else will make it except me. I will be alone, separated from the Creator. You manifest your fear. If you understand that mechanics of being afraid of this or that, then you will discover that all fear is the fear of loneliness and abandonment. Now, it's not just conquering your fear, but it's also understanding your fear. So what is it that you're conquering? What are the positives and negatives? But I can tell you, fear is dumb and it's repetitive. What are the things that you fear? As you look at the things now that you fear, are they the same as the things that you feared 10 years back? If you fear that nobody likes you, has that changed? So tell yourself that the fear is dumb and it's repetitive. It comes when you need it, and it will leave when you ask. Hurt is only felt in time. And what that means is, over time, that hurt will go away. You will get over that hurt. So many people who sleep, when they go to bed at night, they have nightmares. And with those nightmares, that's where you come into contact with your fears. And some will say, but it's better to have a nightmare and deal with my fears in my nightmare than dealing in this world, in this reality. Now, as you move between your dreams and this reality, you will realize that it is important that you conquer your fear on all levels. To have heaven here in your life, to have a peaceful life and a wonderful time, you need to conquer your fear. So let's have a quick look at what is the positive side of fear. Fear can be a warning. When you feel fear and there's sounds in the middle of the night and you're alone, it means call the police or call a family friend or call colleague, whoever. It means you should not go alone. And here's the thing that I think everybody has felt at one stage or another, that especially going into business, somebody came up with a suggestion, let's do this, let's do that, and you've got that little fear. You're just feeling that fear. That needs to be listened to, and you need to pay attention to that, because that is a warning that something could go wrong. Maybe there's a lack of trust. Maybe you're afraid when the phone rings. Maybe you're afraid when you hear a car outside. Ask yourself this: what is it that I do not trust? I do not trust myself to have the ability to handle whatever that phone call is. I do not trust myself to have the ability when that car arrives. Now, advertisers use this fear by placing ads in envelopes, which not so much anymore, but they have now the emails with similar wording that looks like accounts. They know you will pay attention. They make telesales after hours because they know you will pay attention. So they use that fear against you. So you don't trust yourself and you don't trust the unknown. But fear can also help you slow down. It can act as brakes. Because some people make the same mistakes over and over and over. They create the same disastrous relationships. They end up with the same people in the same jobs every 3 months. Some do it with friends. Some do it with hobbies. People move too fast. So fear slows them down and makes them take a look so they can realize, wait a minute, something is wrong. The problem was rather for people to admit that they've got fear. They ignore it. Excuse me. So fear will also tell you we've got faulty beliefs. Right? But in general, fear is negative. So you can ask yourself, what's wrong with fear? You don't know, but you know it's negative. So if you want to conquer the fear, you need to know why fear is negative. You have to know why not to allow it. Fear separates you from yourself. It alienates you from your feelings, your thoughts, and your identity and your reality. So when you are in fear and someone says to you that you're creating your reality, you want to get upset with that person. So that is why fear is negative. It separates you from yourself and from the knowledge that you create your own reality. There are people who get angry at the suggestion that you create your own reality. There are those who get violent if you tell them they create their own reality. Imagine how fearful they are, how separated they are from themselves. Because when they're opposed to the idea that you create your own reality, it separates them from their reality and themselves. The fear paralyzes people and it prevents people from changing. Fear also binds people in boredom, revenge, doubt, anger, guilt, depression, self-pity, and it prevents people from changing. So that little fear grows into huge fears. It prevents people from taking responsibility. They can't laugh. They give up. They cannot change. And one of the big things about fear is it stimulates the past. People are afraid that the past will be repeated. So what do? They try and compare future events with the past. And they're trying to constantly fix or change the past, but they're so busy doing this that they forget how to live. They can't move on. So what happens? Fear becomes addictive. People get addicted to fear. Some people are fear addicts. And some people wake up, feel great, and then that fear comes in and they say, but wait a minute, something's wrong. So they can't go during the day, even one day, without expecting something to happen. They're waiting for the fear. People want to be afraid. That's why people are addicted to horror movies. They like all the bloodthirstiness, so they can tell everybody how scary this movie was. They drag their friends along. Come, you have to watch this movie. It is very scary. You will wet yourself. And I must tell you, guys use this. They drag the girl to the movie so they can hold her tighter. And the girls do the same thing. But ultimately, he could have done this in a romantic movie as well. But he does not trust himself in a romantic movie. He doesn't want to be seen as a sensitive type, which is a topic for another day. People become fear addicts. They're afraid of everything. And they have a whole list of things that they fear. And just like any addict, when you try and take that addiction away from them, they're going to get very angry at you. And that is why fear is damaging. Most will say, but I'm not addicted to fear. But before you know it, you're addicted to fear. Faulty beliefs create fear. What are your belief systems? And also, fear is accommodating. It accommodates all your manipulations and dominations. So people can say, I'm sorry I hurt you, but I was scared. I had fear. They try and justify the manipulations with those words. And fear also fills the blockages. So as we said before, fear separates you from your reality. So the negative fear outnumbers positive fears by far. So people who manipulate through fear are only doing it because they're lost. And if people are caught up in fear, it's just a simple way for them to say, I'm lost. And so many people don't believe that it's possible to live without fear. But there's a lot of people who've conquered their fear, and they don't fall under these categories. They've got their ducks in a row. And unfortunately, a lot of people use also fear as punishment. Oh, people are afraid of me. And that makes them feel good. Now, a lot of people may say they're going to conquer fear. They say they can, and they will. But if they don't know their addictions, if they don't know what rewards they're getting from it, and if they don't forgive themselves, they're not going to conquer it. So it's important to know what your fears are. And some of you might get fearful right now and say, but wait a minute, now I'm really fearful. How am I going to do this? What if I can't do it? But there's no need for that. Why wait until later? Why wait for some day? Why not now? At this moment. If you know what your fear is, then you can take it to the private place and you can go and work on it. Now, how do you conquer fear? To conquer fear is to be alone. Most people, when they have fear, they feel they need to be with others, or they need to sleep. But that's not how to conquer fear. To conquer your fear, you need to be alone. It is hiding and retreating. And for some reason it seems like my camera went off. So in the retreat, you confront your fears, you play it through, you work with it. For instance, if you have a fear of being fired, visualize it to be the last words what your boss will say. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to let you go. Visualize the situation to the last detail. Sense it and see it happen. Take control out loud. Talk to yourself. And in this loneliness, even talk to a friend. It can be literal, it can be a mirror, or you can talk to somebody, yourself in the mirror. Play it through. Say all the things that you're afraid of. And look at what your fear is a symptom of. All fears are a symptom of a faulty belief. A fear that is, you need to see that fear and embrace it and understand that what is it a symptom of. What belief do you have that is faulty? So play through the fear. And then the other thing is play through it and make it silly. Put silly music to your fear, like Teletubbies or Eat It Off Weird Al Yankovic. To make it silly, you take the edge off that fear. If it's a potential fear, not specific yet, it could be a fear of hijacking that happened to others, fear of being killed in bed or rape or whatever, and it has not happened. It's a potential fear. Look at what is the symptom of that fear, and face it reflectively. Play circus music. Make the characters funny, silly looking stupid. Put them in a picture frame. Make a painting or a sketch. Make the frame funny or artistic. And then look at the fear again. Or you can write a letter saying, "Dear David, I'm writing a letter because of da 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 da, and I'm afraid of being shot, or I'm afraid of this or that." Write a letter. The other one is the water technique. Take a glass of water, 3/4 full, lie down. Hold the water with both hands on your solar plexus. If you feel it should be left or right, it doesn't matter, it's fine. Hold it where you think is right. Then put all your fear in it. Feel all your fear. Sense it going into the water. Play it in detail, step by step, and put that fear in water. If your mind wanders, then it's your ego. Get back to your fear. Sense all the ugliness in the glass. Now take the glass and pour the water down the toilet or the basin. Do not pour it on plants. Pour it down the drain and flush it with running water. This is the poison you're pouring out. Rinse it and fill it with 3/4 again of water. Put the glass on your heart. Feel the love, all the happiness and wonder that you can feel. Focus on people and the things that you love. Feel the love. And when you have done that, sit up and drink half of the water. In 20 minutes, you drink the rest. And you will have remedied your fear. Remedied, I beg your pardon. And the act is done. It sounds simple, but it really works. So if you conquer your fear, you will be the leader, the inspiration you decided to be. And that is what the world needs. We need the people, we need the leaders, and we need people to change the world. And with that, as I said before in the beginning, I want you to think about your fear. If these things don't work that I've mentioned, think about what fear it is, what's on the forefront of your mind. And Wednesday evening at 7 o'clock, I'll do a special session where we will go through and I will help you release that fear. And until then, thank you for listening, and maybe you and your families be blessed, and may